Warning, this podcast may be disturbing to some listeners. Due to the graphic nature, listener discretion is advised. Welcome from wherever you are. This is the Demon Inside Podcast. I am your host, John Venom. If you would like to review another episode of the Demon Inside, you can go to Spotify, Apple Music, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and any podcast platform. You can also find us on YouTube and on our website, thedemoninside.transistor.fm. And please don't forget to subscribe and rate us with 5 stars. A new episode will come out once a week. Hello, my Demon Insiders, and welcome back to the Demon Inside. I'm your host, John Venom, and today we are going to be talking about the Demon Inside, James Porter. That's right, this is going to be a show about me. Now, the reason I'm doing this is because I have been affected by demons pretty much my whole life, and I'm not losing my mind, and I'm not seeing demons everywhere, and I'm not hallucinating, and I'm not taking drugs or anything like that. I'm of sound mind and body. But again, as I've told you before, as a spiritual person, I've seen things, and I'm going to explain a lot of things. And I'm going to talk to you about what caused me to believe in demons. Now, if you're a true crime fan, there's some stuff that's going to be okay talking to you guys about, like past things that I've done. But for the most part, this is going to be like more of a spiritual. I'm not going to be a religious, whatever. Like, I'm not going to preach to you. But I am going to tell you how I got to be who I am now. And I've talked to people about my life, and some have said I should do it on my show. So here is my truth. In 1990, in 89 actually, I graduated high school and joined the military. And in 90, I left for the Philippines. This would have been right after May, so it was June. When I was there, I had a couple of occurrences. Now, let me tell you, before then, when I was growing up, I believed in demons. I believed in spirits. I believed in a lot of things that people wouldn't believe. I've seen ghosts. I've heard them speak. I've seen demons in the presence of evil. I know a lot of people don't believe in stuff like this, especially as a kid, because, the kids' imaginations. When we stop believing, it doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. And for me, I had to accept what was real because it happened on a daily occurrence. Me, and I can only speak for me, and I know my siblings have told me, my mother has told me, even though they try to say it didn't happen, but when they're honest with me, they say it did. We grew up in a house with a hardcore Catholic foundation. But my father was an alcoholic who liked to abuse my mom and us as kids. My mother, traditionally, she was a strong woman, but in that time, she was supposed to give in to her husband. They didn't believe in divorce. They didn't believe in separation. So we had to endure everything that happened to us. And for me, I got it a little bit extra because my father never thought I was his. Even though my mother was a very devoted wife, she never had sex with any other man. But my father was a womanizer, and since he would cheat, he thought that she would cheat. Even though she never left the house, how could she, you know? So for me growing up, my father was only my provider. There wasn't a real connection. There wasn't fatherly advice, things like that. And it's okay with me now as an adult. I have no ill will towards my father, and he passed away a while back. So when I joined the military, there was a couple of incidents, and I can't bring those up because it's a very touchy thing. But up until that point, up until I joined the military, everything that was evil to me was the things that I couldn't see, but I could feel, I could sense, I knew when there was things in my room. I knew when they were invading my dreams. I knew when they would mess with me. And so I didn't know how to control. It's a big thing now. Everybody and anybody says they do it, but this was back in early 90s, 80s. When I was a kid, it was in the 70s. Nobody talked about seeing ghosts. Nobody talked about hearing ghosts. There was hardly any mention of spirituality or anything like that. So when I was in the military, like I said, I started seeing evil in people. And it was new to me. While I was going through that, I was going through my own problems with my ex-wife. I've only been married once and been divorced once. It wasn't that I didn't have opportunities to get married, but I was so hurt from my first marriage because she took my child that I never wanted to be with a woman that wanted a child because I was afraid I would lose my child again. But 5 years after we got divorced, I became a single dad because she gave up my daughter and gave her to me. If that wouldn't have happened, my life wouldn't have changed for the better. And I'm going to talk to you about what happened within those 5 years that I didn't have my kid. When I got divorced, my ex-wife the next day remarried, and they moved, and I didn't know where they were. I couldn't find them for 3 months, and I felt lost. I was young. I was heartbroken. I was beat up, and I was mad. And I had a hatred. And that hatred led me to the church that I've always been to, and I stood in front of the altar. Like I said, I'm Catholic, and I stood in front of the altar where the cross is with Jesus Christ, and I was so upset. I told God that I hated him. I told God to forget about me. I told God I didn't want anything to do with him anymore. I think at that time, God showed me what life would be without him. And at that time, something decided to ride along with me. And I'll explain that. During that time, I had decided that I wanted to kill myself. I felt like there was no other way to live my life except to kill myself. Now, being a hardcore Catholic, I couldn't do it because I would automatically go to hell. So I found a loophole, or at least, I was thinking I found a loophole. I mean, give me a break. I was 20, okay? I decided that I was going to go to clubs, to places where I could get in trouble, and somebody would hate me so much that they would kill me. This led me on a road to pure evil, hatred. I hated the world. I hated my life. I hated people. I didn't want anything to do with anybody except cause pain. I slept around with women. I broke up marriages. I did everything I could. And to me, right now that I'm talking about it, sounds like what a demon would do. Which is why I think I saw the demon that was in me. He wasn't possessing me. He was just with me. And I'll explain that here in a minute. So during that time, like I said, I met a lot of people that were considered evil, that had been in and out of prisons. I had met a lot of gang members, motorcycle gang members. I don't want to pinpoint anyone because I don't want any repercussions to come back to me. And I don't want to spill any of the secrets or anything, but let's just say this. I used to hang out with a guy in Mexico, and we're talking Mexico I would go through Laredo, and then I would go to Boys Town, and I would hang out with a certain guy who, let's say, was associated. And I would hang out with him so much that I saw a lot of things with him. Let's just say that. After a couple of years of doing that, that's when the cartel war started, and he told me not to go back to Mexico anymore. And I didn't. I stayed in Texas. But I was still creating havoc. So any chance that I got, I would hurt anyone. And I'm going to be honest with you guys. I would talk to, let's say, because I was a bartender. And if there was a woman with her husband, and they're sitting at a booth, I would go up to them and, give them drinks or whatever, and then I would go back to my bar. And when the woman would get up to go to the bathroom, I would go up to the guy and ask him, hey, is that your wife or your girlfriend? Now, here in San Antonio, we're a very machismo city. Like, you don't talk to a man's wife or girlfriend. You don't approach a man's wife or girlfriend. You approach the man if you want to ask him something about his woman. Because if not, it's disrespectful. So what I would do sometimes is I would go and talk to the guy and say, hey, is that your wife, your husband? They would be like, yeah, what the fuck? And I would be like, hey, bro, I'm sorry, but I saw her in here with another guy. That was enough for the guy to start fighting with his wife. And eventually, he would leave, and I would pick her up. In my head, I had convinced myself that if they were faithful, trusting, loving couple, then he would have trusted enough that I was lying instead of thinking she was. He was trusting a stranger instead of his wife or girlfriend that he loved. That's how I used to justify manipulating people and lying to people. So while I was on this, it lasted a few years. And one day I was at a bar. I was drinking. I get picked up by a woman. I go outside to the parking lot, and her husband's waiting for me. Now, this isn't your typical thing, but the husband wanted me to have sex with her while he watched. And I didn't care about it. I said, sure. He even paid for the hotel room. This was a couple that thought that they were in charge of me. By the end of the night, they were scared of me. And they were out of control. I had all the control. And half the time, I didn't even know what the fuck I was doing, but it was me. I'm not trying to deny it. I'm not trying to put, any type of whatever into it. I admit I did it, and I am so sorry for that. But if it wasn't for that night, I walked into the bathroom after their fear in the eyes, after they were really afraid of me. I walked into the bathroom and I washed my face off. And in the mirror, I see on my chest like a portal. And in the middle of that portal is a demon, or at least that's what I called it, because it was ugly. And it was sitting, and it looked to me as if it was laughing. And it didn't feel like it was in control. It felt like it was feeding off of what I was doing. And at that minute, I knew that I had hit my lowest. And if I was feeding a demon, then I was even lower than the demon was. Because he didn't have to do anything. He didn't have to talk in my ear. He didn't have to, oppress me, obsess me. He didn't have to do nothing. I did it all on my own, and I take full responsibility for that. But that day, it changed me, and I started going back to church. And I'm not a religious person by all means, because I've had my incidents with people that say they're of the cloth, or people that say that they're preachers or pastors or whatever they want to call themselves, because all men sin for me. Don't get me wrong. I don't want you to change your philosophies. I don't want to change your life or anything. You believe who you believe. You if you feel comforted, that's you. Personally, I've been in situations with priests that, and I wasn't molested, don't get me wrong, but where they did something wrong that I thought they should have been doing something right. And I realized that these are just men with flaws like everybody else. So I started following the Bible. I started reading it for myself. And I started believing that anyone who reads the Bible, you're going to get different messages from it every time you read it. And not only that, but you're also going to get different messages than what people preach about. I suggest reading the Bible for yourself. You get something different every time. You never stop learning. Please listen to that. You never stop learning. You'll continually be learning in life. So this is what I'm telling you when I saw that demon. And I didn't think, I've never told anybody about it. I recently opened up about it to two people. One was my sister, and the second one was a police officer here in Live Oak. Now, he said something to me that really opened my eyes. He asked me, "Why do you think you saw that demon?" And I had never really thought about it. I always thought maybe it just forgot to hide from me. But he told me this, and it really opened my eyes. He said, "Don't you think that God let you see that demon? That God opened your eyes so that you can see what you were doing?" So after I started my spirituality, I started recovering my life. Now, recently, I've been doing this show, and this is, for me, this is those demons that wanted me from the beginning, the one that was sitting in my chest, coming back to stop me from talking on this show. Now, there's some things that I'm going to talk about that I've probably talked about before, and I know I've said them before, but I'm going to say it for people that don't remember or have never listened. But I do security for different companies. I have a security company, and I had employees up until COVID, and COVID affected everybody. It even affected the demons, believe it or not. There's patterns where the demons stop in 2020. So now, I was working, keeping homeless people away from a building, and there was a guy there, and I have seen him before, and he's kind of a angry person, and I, would expect him to cuss me out, to say things about me, and it doesn't bother me. The thing that bothered me was when he was walking away, he said, "Hail Satan." This was the first time I had ever heard that. And he said it twice. "Hail Satan, hail Satan." I didn't think much of it, And so a week goes by. There's a different homeless man. And there's a black man that I had seen a lot of times, and we talked several times, and he would always, just get up and walk away. And the only reason I'm saying that he was a black guy is because, and no offense, guys, honestly, white people I can see saying "Hail Satan," because a lot of these crimes, whenever there's somebody that is a devil worshiper, it's always a white kid. And I feel so bad for that. But I've never heard black people talk about Satan in any kind of way, And so this guy, when he was walking away, and he was very quiet and said thank you and walked off. But then he said, "Hail Satan, hail Satan." And it kind of freaked me out. And if you listen to my shows back in the day, you'll hear me talk about it. Because it really did affect me. It really did freak me out. And it almost made me want to stop doing the show. So then, some time goes by, and my brother's best friend, who was the sweetest, nicest guy ever, this guy wouldn't hurt a fly. I hear that he broke down a door to his house to get to his wife, and he was trying to kill her. The police were there when he was trying to break down the door, and they tased him 2 or 3 times, and the taser had no effect on him. And then they ended up shooting him and killing him. these are the podcasts that I do, things like that. That freaked me out because that was hitting closer to home for me. Now, recently, in my spare time, if somebody asks, and it's got to be something that I can do. Okay, let me explain. Investigations. I'm an investigator. And I don't usually take cases from just anybody. I don't take cheating wife, cheating husbands. Man, that breaks my heart. I hate that. I hate when I find that a woman is cheating on her husband, or I find that a man is cheating on his wife. I do not do cheating wife, cheating husband cases, period. But I do cold case files if a family reaches out. I do missing persons if a family reaches out. I do cases that the police have already filed, not a crime, because I try to find a crime that's involved in it. And I'll be honest with you, if there is not a crime, I'm going to tell the family that the police are right. If there is, I'm going to say there is. You know, I'm very truthful about what I do. So I got a call from a friend who wanted me to look into some cases that they believed was a serial killer. Now, this person has been drowning people in a lake. And I'm just going to say that. And also, they came to my hometown, that serial killer, and drowned somebody in a lake. So while I'm trying to find a pattern for that, and I'm not talking about the show, I'm not talking about spirituality, I'm talking about a real, true killer. And I'm trying to find the cases that fit a pattern. Because some of them are accidental drownings, some of them are not. And the ones that I believe are certain ones belong to one serial killer, and there's another one that belongs to a second one. Now, keep in mind, those cases are real. My other cases that I do on this show are real, but I find the spirituality. There was a crime that my friend sent me a message about. A guy tried to drive his car into the lake here in San Antonio. It's called Woodlawn Lake. I've done shows where a parent has tried to drive into the ocean. I've done shows where a person, or I'm going to do a show where a person drives off a cliff. Now, this woman that drove into the ocean, you know, they said she looked possessed. This guy tries to drive into the lake and doesn't make it in, gets out of his car. The police start asking him, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" He gets out, takes out a knife, starts charging her, and she shoots him dead. What are the chances of me looking into a serial killer that drowns people, and now there's a guy that tries to drive his car into the lake, gets out, doesn't answer any questions, goes straight to the police and gets shot dead? I've done shows like that before, guys. We're talking this lake from where I live is probably a good 5 minutes away. Now, if that's not enough, I have these, when I'm talking to somebody that is spiritual, that I know is a believer in God, just like right now, I'm trying to talk to you, my mouth dries up to the point where I cannot talk anymore. This happened 2 days ago. Or let me go back to 4 days ago. There was a homeless man who came by my property and he was throwing rocks in the middle of the road. And I didn't want him throwing rocks at my property. So I was following him at a good distance and not, provoking him or nothing, just keeping an eye on him. When he crossed the street to my property, I got out of my car, I walked up to him, I asked him if he was okay. I'm never rude, never mean, never say a bad word about anybody. I asked him if he was okay. He said no, he had lost his phone, he was acting erratic. He is mentally not well, and I can tell that, and he's a homeless guy. But he mentioned God. So what I did, when he mentioned God, I said, let's pray. And I don't ever do this, guys. Honestly, I don't even know where that came from, because I don't know how to do prayers out of the blue, Like, there's a lot of good Christians that they can pray on the spot about, anything. I can't do that. But I did. And he gave me a hug, and he walked off, and he was fine. Okay? This was on a Saturday. Then I saw him again day before last, which was Thursday. He was walking by, and something told me to get out of the car and go talk to him, which I did. And I asked him if everything was going good. And he said, yeah, it's okay. It's better now. He goes, I'm not, feeling like I was. He goes, I really thank you for the prayer. He actually remembered. And I don't know what it was in me. And I've told you before, maybe, that I wear a rosary around my neck. And it's not that I'm praying to the rosary, but it's a reminder around my neck of my faith. Because sometimes I forget, to be honest with you. And it's not like I go out and party and have fun and I forget. It's like whenever I do these shows, something clouds my mind and I forget. So my rosary is a constant reminder of my faith in God and that God is there. So when I approached him and we were talking, I don't know what it was that... Okay, let me tell you, it was God. Plain and simple. God had not told me, but it was like a feeling that I needed to give him my rosary. So I gave it to him. Straight off the bat, I swear to you. This was my protection. This was my everything. This was part of me. And I was giving it to him. In my mind, I was thinking, you're giving up your protection. Don't do that. What are you doing? But I felt like I had to, and I did. And I gave it to him, and he put it around his neck, and I put it next to his skin under his shirt, and I told him, do not take that off. Now, he thanked me. We hugged. We were both crying. It was nuts, okay? We're both crying. I told him, dude, be safe. I love you, brother. You need something, I'm here. He was crying. He was telling me, thank you. I was saying, you're a person. Remember that. And don't ever feel alone. So that was on Thursday. Okay. We're on Saturday right now. I'm sorry because we're doing this podcast, but Thursday, that happened. Friday. Now, before I jump to Friday, Thursday, as soon as I gave him my rosary, I got online on my phone and I was looking to buy a new rosary. And I just kept flipping through everything, and I couldn't find anything that spoke to me. And I was like, Jesus, please, Lord, I need a rosary. My daughter lent me hers that I had given her. And I wanted to give it back to her because it's been good to her. And I don't want to keep her unsafe, but I need it as well. And I started asking God that same night, I need to find a rosary. And then all of a sudden, I stopped. So comes Friday, which is the next day. I get to work. A friend calls me from New Mexico. and we start talking. And then out of the blue, he offered me a rosary. And I said, what? He goes, yeah, I have a rosary here. Do you want it? And I said, dude, send me a picture. And he sent me the picture, and I saw it, and I immediately knew that's my rosary. I need that rosary. That's mine. Can you send it to me? He said, yeah, of course, brother. And I told him the story of what was going on. And he said, oh my God. He goes, wow, God works fast. I said, yeah, he does. Now, while I'm trying to tell you this story, because he sent it to me, I haven't got it yet. I'll be receiving it this week. I've been talking to him and to another friend of mine about this situations and things and God and spirituality. And while I'm talking to you as well, my mouth has been going dry as fuck. Like, I couldn't talk to my friend Joe without drinking water. I can't talk to you guys right now without drinking water. I don't know what it is. And I'm thinking, whatever it is trying to shut me up because it doesn't want me to talk about this. And that's why I'm telling you about this. Because I think the more that people hear about it, the less it's going to try to shut me up, because I've already told the world. I was telling my friend earlier, before he left from work, my mouth had gotten so dry that my tongue was sticking to the top of the roof of my mouth. That's how dry my mouth got. And he was looking at me like, dude, your mouth looks so fucking dry. He goes, your lips look like they're cracking. And I said, you know what? It's whatever doesn't want me to talk to you about this. And he agreed, and he's like, look, James, just go get water. I'm gonna go ahead and go home. He goes, this is, wow. So as I drove away from him, my tongue, my mouth, everything got back to normal. And that's when I thought, you know what, guys? I need to tell you these stories. I need to tell you about my life. I need to tell you about what I'm going through to do this show for you guys, because I'm learning. Jesus, I'm learning a lot. And God is just pouring knowledge. And I want to pour knowledge to everybody else. Like I said, this was about me. This was about my life. This is about my truth. This is what I feel like I have to talk about. And I'm not trying to change anybody's mind. I'm not trying to talk anybody out of anything. I'm not trying to pitch that, everybody's going to hell or everybody's going to heaven or whatever. I don't know. All I'm telling you is from my point of view, what happened in my life, where I'm coming from, why I do the show, and why I believe in demons. And the reason I'm doing it now is because I told you my name. Yes, John Venom is my name for this podcast, but my real name is James Porter. And when my friend suggested to do a show on myself, because she's like, how would you like it if somebody said the demon inside James Porter? Since that time, it's been weighing on my mind. And now I thought, you know what? Now's the time to tell you. I want to tell you the things that I have been going through to do this podcast. Because whether you believe in evil or demons or whatever, I've had a lot of things giving me warnings, guys. And now I have something that's trying to shut me up. Now that I've told you the story of everything, my mouth is not dry anymore. I mean, I've been drinking water. Don't get me wrong. I've been drinking water, but it's still been dry up until this point because I'm done. I'm done talking to you about this, about the spirituality, about God, about the gifts, about everything that's going on. I just want to thank you guys for listening. I hope you do listen to this one. This is something that I needed to do for myself, and I'm glad you guys listened to it. I hope it makes sense, and I hope I talk to you, and I hope everything in your life is going well, because right now, we're in a spiritual battle, not like Michael Yugagu, but it's always affecting every single one of us, and we have to keep our guard up, because these things will come in and they'll feed off of whatever you give them. And you sure as hell don't want to wake up in the morning in a hotel with a couple that is afraid of you, go into the bathroom and look at yourself and a demon that's sitting there laughing because he's enjoying every little thing that you're doing to people. Thanks for listening, guys. I'll talk to y'all next week. Have a good one. Be safe. Don't forget to subscribe to the Demon Inside podcast on any podcast platform. A new episode of the Demon Inside will be released every week. Let us know what you think of the episode on any of our social media platforms. If you have any questions or comments, go to the Demon Inside Podcast at gmail.com or click at the link below. We would love to hear from you. And to become a Demon Insider, go to the Demon Inside Podcast.transistor.fm. We thank you for listening and hope you will join us next week for a new Demon Inside podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please tell your friends. I am John Venom, and I'll see you next time, if I don't get possessed. The Demon Inside was created and written by James Porter. It is a production of Venomous Entertainment. Background music is by Lucas King, and the title song, The Demon Inside, was produced by Rice Fulber. Music and lyrics by Peter Shelley, and performed by Conjure One. All the content on this podcast is strictly the opinion of the content creator and not the organization, its affiliates, or employees.